Our next guest, someone you know well, I want to make sure I get it correct. Peter Evans, that's the easy part, from NAI Hunneman.
Correct.
Great. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and, Hunneman?
Sure. I started in the commercial real estate business in Boston in 1992 and started off as a leasing broker in the South Shore suburban marketplace and slowly transitioned over to the principal side of the business, the ownership side of the business. Was hired by Lehman Brothers to run their real estate portfolio in the Northeast. Then I transitioned over to Goldman Sachs and ran their Northeast real estate portfolio. And then went off and started my own company in 2004. And after we dwindled that company down, I transitioned back over to the brokerage side of things 3 years ago, and I'm a co-managing director and head of the downtown leasing group at Hunneman. My grandmother was a pioneer in the real estate business in the South Shore. She started a residential real estate firm in 1956. Wasn't a very popular thing for women to do at the time. So she started a residential real estate business in the South Shore, and I grew up in the business watching her work. I got my real estate license when I was a sophomore in college, which was pretty easy to do in Massachusetts at the time. You didn't need to carry your license at a specific company, so she carried it for me. And after she passed away in 1972, we sold her business to Coldwell Banker, and I always stayed interested. After I graduated from college, I traveled a little bit, tried to decide what I wanted to do, and real estate always kind of pulled me back. So I was introduced to a guy by the name of Peter Brown, who was one of the partners at Peter Elliott in 1992, and I started working in the out of the Dedham office in 92. I think that the commercial real estate brokers in general are either landlord strong or they're tenant strong. So the landlord brokers understand the bricks and sticks. They understand how the buildings are built. They care about the HVAC systems, the daily operations of a building. Tenant brokers represent tenants. They represent law firms, emerging technology companies. Most real estate brokers like to have a 50-50 split on both. I have a preference for working on bricks and sticks. I like the way that the inner workings of the buildings, I like the financial modeling, I like the analysis that goes along with it, as well as the daily operational elements of the ownership side of the business.
So Peter, I've been here in Boston since 1993, and so I can legitimately say I'm a Bostonian now after being here for so long, and I'm just amazed at what's happening in the greater Boston area for such a small footprint. Can you tell our listeners, can you rationalize what's happening in Boston in commercial real estate?
It was actually just announced yesterday in the Boston Business Journal that it's the #1 city for startups, which I think they've been in the top 5 for the last 5 years. There really isn't a rationalization that I can come up with. There's the dynamics of the commercial real estate market in Boston has shifted so much in the last 5 years that it's almost remarkable. Actually, it's unprecedented what's happened. The emergence of the Seaport, which 15 years ago had a Dunkin' Donuts and a Fidelity building and a hotel.
It was awful.
There was nothing there.
Parking lots.
They were dirt parking lots, right?
And I go to other cities that had huge built-up seaport areas.
Correct.
Boston was nothing.
Correct. But I think that what happened is after the 2008 crash, which was principally driven by the debt markets, it impacted a lot of the financial services and life insurance companies that had always called Boston their home, as well as the back office healthcare operations from Blue Cross Blue Shield, Harvard Pilgrim, et cetera. They had moved out of the city and moved to the suburbs to get to better parking and to better layouts on floors. And what happened is emerging technology companies started backfilling a lot of these spaces. And as a result, the growth in the Seaport has been principally driven by culture creation, which is, Thomson Reuters was the first tenant to call the Four Point Channel their home. Their spaces are still ahead of their time today, even 20 years later. So the market in the Seaport, I think, has changed the entire dynamic of what's happened downtown. And it's all principally driven by emerging technology companies that are coming out of the educational institutions in the city.